It is an extremely rare politician who gives up a position of political power. And in a moment from now, we'll be talking to somebody who is that rare. Jawhar Sircar has decided to resign from the Trinamool Congress as a member of parliament over his disquiet in the handling of the RG Kaur rape and murder. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. The Supreme Court has once again resumed its hearings into the case, a hearing in which the integrity of the postmortem and the forensic report was today raised before a bench led by the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice has also asked the protesting junior doctors to return to work. He set a deadline, and he has said that if this deadline is not met, then the doctors will have no recourse if disciplinary actions are taken. But in the meantime, the questions continue to mount as to whether the truth of this case will ever be uncovered. A person feeling that disquiet and sharing that disquiet and anger of those who are out on the street is Trinamool Congress Member of Parliament, Jawhar Sircar, who's also been, of course, a senior civil servant. Mr. Sircar has declared in a letter to Mamta Banerjee that is publicly available his decision to resign as Member of Parliament. The media reports that Mamta Banerjee tried to dissuade him, but he has called out the mishandling of what he says is a spontaneous public protest, the likes of which he has not seen in many years. What makes somebody do something as rare as giving up a position of political power? It's not just rare, it's almost unheard of. And that shows to you the depth of anger in West Bengal and, in fact, across the country today over what has happened to a young woman who was only doing her job when she was raped and killed. And the cover-ups since then have compounded the horror of what unfolded. Jawhar Sircar joins us now as our newsmaker on the broadcast today. I want to welcome him to the program. Mr. Sircar, you have written in your letter that you have been suffering patiently, watching what has been unfolding for a month, as has the whole nation. What for you has been the tipping point that made you decide that now enough is enough and you can't continue representing the Trinamool Congress in Parliament anymore? What was the last straw?
No, I had to use some sort of a shock method, even though it looks a bit sensational. There was no way I could otherwise get across to the leadership that this is not a political movement. I mix around with common people. I stay in a very middle-class area. I know what's going on. I know, first we thought it was a class war between the Bhadraloks, the middle class, upper middle class, educated classes that don't like Mamta Banerjee. They don't like her. But then I found it's not a class war. It's actually more than that. Even those who are not part of the educated layers, everybody's participating. I've gone and seen it for myself. In some places, I covered my face with a handkerchief. That's all. Because I needed to think that's amazing. At 15, 16, I went out in the streets as a student activist. I mean, everybody does these things. So I also did it. From then till today, I'm 72. I have not seen such a spontaneous display of public anger sustained over a long period of time. We have seen rage. Rage comes up, it goes away. That sort of a thing. It can be cooled down. But here, I've never seen such spontaneous display. So when I kept on hearing from the leadership and from people wiser than me in politics, that, you take it easy, it's a political war and things like that, I looked around and I found, yes, there are some elements of the BJP or the CPIM who are at the sidelines, but they were literally told to leave. This Abhijit Ganguly or Gangopadhyay, the judge who turned BP, he went to beat the doctors and they said, go to hell, judge. We don't want you. You're a BJP MP. So political elements were not tolerated by the people. So you have to understand that the bulk of it is non-political. There are political people who are fishing around in troubled waters. But that will be there everywhere. We take it as part of the game. So,
Yeah, that's normal politics, but you're saying the essence of the movement is spontaneous and non-political.
yes, and and it's tragic because Bengal is one of the safest states. It's one of the states where women have the maximum energy in sort of acquiring, in displaying their rights. So I have a feeling, and it's very frustrating, that this movement that they are doing, rather semi-consciously, is a wake-up call for the rest of India. Don't file it like Nirbhaya. Don't file it.
Hmm.
हम करके
Yeah.
दिखाएंगे. This is the type of slogans they are putting. People who have never done politics in their life, carrying boards with crayons and all that. So
Yeah.
it's something very depressing, something very exhilarating, and something
And
very
that is
clean warning.
Yeah,
That
that's an interesting capture of the paradox that it is simultaneously staggeringly depressing and also exhilarating in the power of people asserting itself. May I ask you though what you make, because you have alluded to corruption and the failure of what you call direct intervention by the chief minister to contain it. What do one of the reasons that people are so angry is because there seems to have been, and now there is enough evidence to actually say this, a kind of institutional cover up or protection of those who may have enabled this. For instance, the reluctance to terminate the disgraced former principal of the RG Kaur College, Sandeep Ghosh, transferring him to another college, sending two Trinamool Congress politicians, a state minister and a legislator to the National Medical College to actually persuade protesting students to accept him. A lot we don't know, but here, this much we do know. Why do you think your party was so interested in protecting this man, Sandeep Ghosh?
uh, such me. I don't understand. I mean, I don't. I just can't understand why people went out of the way to of the Sandeep Ghosh. Now, I'm a tactless fellow, and I've always been as such. So I wrote on my Twitter handle, check it out, on the 13th itself, that suspend this Sandeep Ghosh. To which certain wise people told me, Jawhar bhai, हमारे party में ऐसा नहीं मत लिखा करो and all that. I said, but suspend him. That's it. Suspension is a demonstrative act. It is not an proof of criminality, but it removes the person from a scene of trouble. So I said, suspend this, take immediate action for God's sake. So it was partly public, partly through private conversations, partly through typed notes that I've tried to get across, and they
What
didn't
is the
respond.
response you got? No, but what was the response when you said remove him, suspend Sandeep Ghosh?
See, nobody called me a fool. Political called it political naivete, which they could have. But they knew that this guy is not from politics. He is from civil society. He's from society, and what he's saying, perhaps. But point is, nobody goes against what we call centralized decisions. Not only this party, no party. So you suffer together, sink together. Now, my submission is, and this is why people always ask me, how on earth did you join this party? Or first of all, I didn't join the party, but I was with them. Is that, remember, this Bengal is a very unforgiving state. The Congress was in power for many years, and Siddharth Shankar Ray was top gun. Once they removed them in 77, they didn't allow them to get beyond a few seats, a handful of seats. It's over 77. No, nobody can do anything about it. Perhaps not even Rahul Gandhi. Nobody can. The left was in power for 35 years. Once they started their dadagiri and corruption and open display of power, they were thrown out. And now they can't get their candidate more than a few percentage of votes. They've been totally rejected by the people. So now, so the third force that we have is Trinamool. If the third force also falls, the fourth force walks in. The fourth force is what I am worried about. The BJP and communalization of permanent communalization. Wherever they get in, they don't seem to get out. Look at Assam. Everything is communal. So I am partly ideological. I won't use the word political. I'm ideological on that front. And I don't want the communalization of Bengal, which is a highly sensitive state, border state, 30% Muslims, vagara, vagara. I don't want it. So that's why we go out of the way to be with people who otherwise we would not be. Now, that is my fear. That is my fear. And that is why I had to go in for a suicidal warning that please try to get your act back.
Are you going to stick to the suicidal warning, what you've
Yeah.
called an act of self-immolation?
I'll stick to it. He's been very persuasive, very nice, but I still have faith
What did she say to you?
No, that's private. But what I'm saying is that I said, where is the old Mamta Banerjee? I have seen her on the other side of the barricade. I was, after all, a government servant controlling on the government side. And she would just jump into the problem, take it out, sort it out. I said, where is that spirit? That's a very personalized attack. I didn't realize, but then वो बंगाली थोड़ा over emotional होते.
ये बताइए मुझे, sir, vandalism जो हुआ, it was a strange kind of India waking at the from the midnight tryst with destiny on the eve of Independence Day. What we saw happen at the RG Corps. Mamata blamed or tried to blame the left and the right for sending vandals into the college. But even the police themselves, the reports now suggest that some of the arrests are very clearly linked to the Trinamool Congress, and all of Bengal believes that the vandals belonged. Now, everyone I've spoken to says that the vandals were sent in by the Trinamool Congress to seek to destroy evidence. What do you believe? Who were the vandals, and why were the police so magnificently incompetent at containing them?
I wouldn't be able to say. It's a horrific incident to happen. The police running away. Why can't catch the vandals and identify them? They were caught on camera. Why can't you put them and go in for a exhibition parade? These are the fellows, and this is the link, and this one is this. These are steps that one needs to re-establish credibility. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
We need a strong secular force in Bengal to hold back. So that's priority one. And now when I see all sorts of mistakes being repeated, it becomes very difficult. That's it.
Can I ask you what you think? Can I ask you what you think have been the most egregious mistakes? Because your letter does talk about had Mamta Banerjee chosen to handle this differently, in an old style, asserting herself alongside the people, suspending Sandeep Ghosh, maybe by now taking action against the police commissioner. A lot of people believe that there has been a protection of whatever your views may be on him as a person, the Kolkata police failed to do its job. That much is clear. In the 5 days that they had the case, the allegation is they didn't even interrogate Sandeep Ghosh once. So there are grave questions about how this case was handled while they had it before it was handed over to the CBI. My question to you is, what have been the most egregious mistakes made by the Mamta Banerjee government? And let's also remind let's remind our audience that both home and health are under the chief minister in West Bengal.
I wonder what the chief secretary was doing. I have held senior posts, and we know the former chief secretary was a rotter. I'm sorry, that's the only word I can use. What was he doing for that whole month? That's a question I would like to ask. What was he doing? The head of the government is the chief secretary. He heads the administrative part of the government. The political part is the chief minister. What were the bureaucrats doing? Now we have a good chief secretary. I hope he sort of makes up. What were the others doing? What was the home secretary doing? What were they doing? And it's a lady. I mean, what is going on? That's all I had to say. And I'm glad that the message went home. And her request, I'm sorry, I can't keep.
Her request was that you should take back your resignation.
Take back. It's very embarrassing and all. I mean, she didn't put it in that way, but it's very embarrassing. I know it's embarrassing. People are saying I'm a rat running away from a ship. So if you are so conscious that your ship is sinking, why on earth aren't you doing anything? Why do you have to wait for an ex-bureaucrat, non-political outsider to come and jar you up? That's it.
So has Mamta Banerjee been misled? Are these her own mistakes? Is this hubris? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Is this
Let's see.
hubris?
Supreme Court has ordered the doctors to be back, so that's one part
Yeah.
of the thing. But I still think while they resume duty, there should be a dialogue, an understanding between the doctors and the administration. You see, both sides are not criminals or something. They're all human beings. I mean, somebody goofed, somebody agitated. So, I mean, let's come to this thing and let's come for a viable solution. That's one. The CBI has told to present its report by 17th. It better do. You can't go on saying, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. So, and then since the highest court and the high court have decided, let them take a call. I mean, people should also understand that it doesn't work like magic. It doesn't work like magic.
Just in the end, the doctors have had one key demand, that the police commissioner must resign. Do you believe he should resign?
I won't comment on it. I mean, I felt bad. The chap is not bad. I mean, see, I am too much of an involved human being. I don't know him. He's about 20 years, 30 years my junior, whatever. But I hear from people that he has a good reputation. He goofed. He made too many mistakes. So even it doesn't matter that if you're a good man, you make mistakes, then you pay for it.
And what are you going to do now? Since you have said you're ideological, but you're not good.
I'm a free person. My wife thinks I'll stay at home. She doesn't know me. So I'll keep writing. I'll keep talking. I'll keep bothering people. I'll keep raising my activist issues on environment, on feminism, on various health. I was speaking on health yesterday, day before yesterday. So there are so many things to be corrected, and I'll do it free of cost. Free of cost.
And you won't be persuaded to take back your resignation.
Nonsense. Never. The first going itself was perhaps not the best thing, but then I got an opportunity to raise so many issues in Parliament. So many issues.
Yeah. Well, Jawhar Sircar, you're a rare entity. That's all I'll say. A rare entity to give up a position of political power. Thank you, sir. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Vote Her Story and support independent, robust journalism.